BookTube, this is Kelly. Thank you so much for watching my channel, Books I'm Not Reading. Today I'm here to do the second part of my Pulitzer Prize series. There was a previous video, an introduction to this series that I will link to down below, and I strongly recommend that you watch that video before you watch any of the other videos in the series, so that we're not repeating. I don't have to say the same information in all of these videos. You're already going to know. So if you please check that out first before you watch this video, that would be fantastic. Again, so today is my personal journey with the Pulitzers, and I didn't realize how personal it was until I tried making this video. I've tried making this video a couple times, and it's really hard. It's really hard to talk about why I decided to read the Pulitzer Prize books, because it came from a really dark time in my own life. In July of 2007, I was diagnosed with epilepsy. Jason, my husband, and I were living in Missoula, Montana. We had not lived there for very long, and we were about 12 hours away from our family. We didn't have very many friends. And epilepsy, if you have any experience with, and this is probably true for many neurological disorders, there's a whole slew of drugs, and you experiment with dosages and side effects and switching medications. And you know, I remember asking my neurologist early on, like, well, are there any over-the-counter medications that I shouldn't take, which there are, by the way. And he was like, well, if you take one and you have a seizure, then that means that you can't take that drug. That was his response, which is not terribly helpful, not terribly encouraging. And poor Jason and I mean, Jason, he is just the most wonderful caretaker I could ever ask for. I'm so grateful. But we were just so focused on my epilepsy. I felt like I couldn't escape it. I needed something else to think about. I needed a grand distraction. And so, for some reason, I don't remember how it happened. I mean, I was working in a bookstore at the time, but I decided to read all the books that have won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction, or as it was previously known, the Pulitzer Prize for the novel. So when I started the project, I had read only 8 books that had won the Pulitzer Prize for fiction previously. Now, many of you have told me that you want to embark on this project or a similar project, so I hope that some of the things that I have to share with you about my journey will help you along the way. So when I started the Pulitzer Project, which was December of 2007, at that time I had, I believe, 73 Pulitzers to read. I don't know why I thought I could do it in a year. It ended up taking until February of 2010 until I was done. So yeah, the books that I'd already read, I am going to save, and we're going to talk about those in a different video. But I gave myself the grace to say that I didn't have to reread any of those books. Even though I had already read 8 Pulitzers, I had to read an additional 7 books, or I ended up reading an additional seven books, because one of the things that we don't realize when we look at prize lists is that sometimes they're part of a series. And if you're reading the 3rd book in a trilogy, you may want to read the books that came before. Maybe it's being given the prize for the whole series. Now, I gave myself a few exceptions. One of the prize winners is called Dragon's Teeth by Upton Sinclair. It's a very strange book. And I think it was part of just a mammoth series. And I don't know that they were necessarily connected or not. I should have looked that up. I apologize. But that was just too many. So I just read Dragon's Teeth. I cheated there a bit. I did not with some of these other ones. So I had to read 2 other Updike books in addition to the 2 Updike books that had won, John Updike, excuse me, who had won the Pulitzer twice. So I had to read Rabbit Run and Rabbit Redux before reading his 2 Pulitzer Prize winning novels. I had to read The Trees and the Fields by Conrad Richter, who won for The Town. And I had to read The Big Sky by Guthrie, which was a book before The Way West. I also had to read The Forge by Stribling. The Store is the book that won the Pulitzer Prize. Oh God, yeah, we'll talk about that later. Anyway, and I also read the one book at the time that I was doing this project that I knew had been recommended to the Pulitzer Committee and was not chosen. And that book was Thomas Pynchon's Gravity's Rainbow. We'll talk about that more later too. So that was the only book that I knew at the time. There are more now that I'm aware of. Some of the other things that I did to kind of help me along the way is that I did not read the Pulitzers in the order in which they won. And I really recommend this to all of you out there who are trying to read any prize whatsoever. And I also gave myself, again, the grace to read other things in between Pulitzers. Reading the Pulitzers is so overwhelming. It's so challenging, or at least it was for me. And so I felt like there were decades where every single book was about a bored housewife, or, you know, an unfaithful husband, like just a stretch of books that felt very, very similar. It's very hard to differentiate between them. I didn't ever, from the beginning, I never tried to read the Pulitzers in order. And I would say that it should be true for every single prize out there. Don't try to read them in order. Mix it up, because, you know, sometimes you'll read something that you think like, oh, I'm really going to enjoy this. And then, you know, and then you sort of let yourself get into that book and enjoy it. And then you say, okay, now I'm going to tackle one of the big books. And there are a lot of really big Pulitzers. I also, I started a blog, which I mentioned in the introductory video, which helped me kind of articulate my initial reactions, and is really the only way I'm able to do this series, is because I have those thoughts. I was heavily reliant on the library system. There are so many Pulitzers that are out of print, or if they're in your library, they look like this. Right? Doesn't this look like just the kind of thing you want to pick up? So I lived in Missoula, Montana, and it's a town of about over 70,000 people. But I had to check out so many books on interlibrary loan to do the Pulitzer Project. And I think it's even more difficult now. Just in preparing for these videos, I have had such a bit of a struggle, really, to get the books. So most of the books for the Pulitzer Project that I did have to get, I got from this little tiny library, which I always felt like I should have given them some money. In Anaconda, Montana, and they all looked like this. They were all just solid color. There was no distinction. clearly a librarian there knew that they had won the Pulitzer, because I can't think of any other reason why one library should have so many old out of print Pulitzers. So anyway, so this again, like this is what a lot of the books that I read look like. So there's not a great cover to like draw you in. And also, I mean, you can see why no one's checking them out. Like there's no, you know, gold seal or anything like that on them. Another thing that I did that really, really helped me with the Pulitzer Project was that I started a book club. So I was working for Barnes & Noble, and I just really felt like if I had other people to talk to about some of these books, that would be helpful. Keep in mind, I had tried to start a book club at the bookstore before. I started a biography book club, right? Doesn't that just seem like the thing that just everyone would want to be part of? I called it the Reading Between the Lives book club. And I read some great books in that book club, but I probably only tried it for 3 months. And after 3 months of, granted, we sold copies of the books, but nobody came to the meeting. So I gave that up. So I was a little nervous that the same thing would happen with this one, but I started the Pulitzer Prize winning book club, and the first book that we read in that was Booth Tarkington's The Magnificent Ambersons. And I think I had 5 wonderful people come and join the discussion. It was fantastic. It helped me so much see other things in the books. And that continued beyond my Pulitzer journey, actually. So I don't know since COVID, like what has happened with the book club, but I do know that, when we got to February of 2010 and I was done with reading all of the current Pulitzers, I said, look, we can keep reading Pulitzers. I'm not going to read them though. So I will be glad to join you for the discussion, but I'm not going to like just live my life in the Pulitzers. And so we switched it to the award-winning book club, and we only read books that had won some kind of prize. Nobel Prize for Literature, National Book Critics Circle Award, the Booker, all kinds of things. So yeah, we read a lot of great stuff in that book club, and those women, and I believe there was a man that joined us occasionally, they were just fantastic, and it really, really helped me out a lot. So that was February of 2010. Of course, the 2010 winner hadn't been announced yet. I finished the Pulitzer Project. I have continued to read every Pulitzer every year. I don't want to fall behind. I don't want to suddenly realize I have 5 Pulitzers to read to catch up. So it's something that I look forward to, sometimes with trepidation every year. Never know what's going to happen. But I do just want to go back to the beginning and say, you know, I still had epilepsy when I was done with the Pulitzer Project. That hadn't changed. And nothing can, unfortunately. But I had achieved my mission in the fact that I did not spend every moment of every day trying to think about my brain, my body, my medication, those sorts of things. I gained some perspective, maybe is the best way to put it. And I'll always be indebted to the Pulitzers for helping me get through that period of my life, which was so difficult. And also really grateful that I'm in such a different place now. And for those of you who struggle with chronic illness or any kind of disability, yeah, sometimes I think we do. I think we should give ourselves permission to find that grand distraction. And that was really the case for me with the Pulitzers. Finally, I haven't shown you very many books, just the one with the terrible cover. This is the first book that I read as part of the Pulitzer Project, The Late George Apley by John Marquand. And it even has Pulitzer Prize novel at the top, a novel in the form of a memoir. And I got this book for $1 at the book exchange. I think this book has since been reprinted. I really enjoyed this book. I remember staying up later than normal to finish it. It was really quite delightful. But this is where it began for me. And yeah. So I'm looking forward to the next couple of videos. I thought I was only going to make 4 videos, but I think it's going to turn into 5. So I'm excited about that. So I will be back with another Pulitzer video next week. And I look forward to hearing from all of you down below. All of you who are trying to read all of prize winners of some literary prize. I applaud you and your effort. I've been very impressed at how many books some of you have read for a particular prize. So I hope this video was helpful to you, and I hope this lets you know just kind of my connection to the Pulitzers. BookTube, remember to be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.